Dr. Courtney Faulknor, welcome to Profile.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
A wonderful story, and I want to share the Cliff Notes version with our viewers before we go into some of the details of it. So, longest-serving assistant chaplain in the Jamaica Constabulary Force. That's a police force, so lots of stories there.
That's
some
correct.
of which you may not actually be able to tell us about.
So true.
But born and raised in Waterhouse, Kingston during the violent 1970s and 1980s, seventh child. Father was a police officer, mother devoted housewife and spiritual guide, and you are also a member of the church as well.
That's correct.
So much so that you were the president of the Caribbean Conference of Seventh-day Christians for 8 years. These are not Adventists.
Not
Seventh-day
Adventists.
Christians, not Adventists. And launched Talk About It Limited, mental health app in 2025. You're married, you're a father. Quite an interesting story. And I want to start by talking a little bit about just growing up.
That's correct.
Tell me a little bit about growing up.
Well, born, raised in Waterhouse, as I said, in the 70s, early 70s. Very challenging because, as you know, there's influence of gang violence. And it was, at the time, during the election period, too. So I've seen, I've heard almost everything as it relates to violence. Thank God that my mom was an ardent Christian. Because of her influence, obviously, I came to the Lord. I must point out, too, that it was one night when about 6 to 7 armed gunmen attacked her home. And my mom was that stabilizing figure, that during the ordeal, she was most calm throughout the process. And I can't forget, I held on to her nightgown. I was walking with her right through the house whilst the men were trying to enter. And I remember she said that Daniel, God surely will deliver. And immediately, as a child, I surrendered my life to the Lord. And from there, God has been guiding my path and my footsteps every moment.
What was your mom like?
Mom, a serious disciplinarian. She was someone that listened, that she doesn't have to beat you for you to conform. Just by her look, she'll look at you and go like this. So you know what, you should sit down. Very, very disciplined. And we got that prayer, commitment to prayer and our journey in terms of our spiritual growth through our mom. So my mom was that strong, I would say, tower as relates to our spiritual life in our family.
Where was father?
Well, Daddy is serious police. He served almost 30 years in the organization. He was committed. He was not at home, as you know, because the job would have taken him across the island. But one thing, though, he would have left that structure within the home, that even though he's not there physically, emotionally, you know that you need to do several things. He usually made the effort, though, in terms of milestones, whether it's birthday, holidays, to make sure that he was present. So Dad was the sole breadwinner, and he was committed, very, very committed in supporting his family, both emotionally and financially. When he gives a task, you have to get it done because he's going to keep you on your toes. So I believe that spiritually, Mom was that bedrock. And in terms of being disciplined, I believe Dad was responsible for that.
You're talking very soberly now as you sort of reflect on the past, but from very early on, people described you as an old head on young shoulders. Why did they say that?
I believe I've never stayed close to my peers. I've always find myself with older persons, reasoning with older persons. I've taken things that my peers would not have done as it relates to business. I remember just at about 14, 15, I was able to get young men within the community of Waterhouse, build carts, ice cream carts, and I would rent it to them, and for them to go and sell and bring back that money to come to me.
You just have a business. You had a business around other people having business.
Absolutely. So persons when they see that, they say, no man, this is not a young man. This is an old man, older than young body. So from then, and even within the church, I was very much active in my teenage life, whether at school, whether at church, in the community. I was a leader from a youth. And I believe from those attributes and what I've given or contributed, persons believe that, listen, I was way beyond my years, way beyond.
So it's growing up in the church on one hand, the family life with two strict disciplinarians.
Absolutely.
You know, your mother as well as your father, setting the tone and also sort of directing you through what they were saying about what was expected of you. How were you doing in school?
School was good. Mom's stickler for that. As I said, Dad was not around all the time. Mom, you have to, she was a housewife. And I've always said it's a very underrated role, a housewife. Because what I find that once you are at home, your mom was there. Mm-hmm. When you are coming home, she's there to meet you. She instilled in terms of doing homework, getting your assignment done, doing well at school. You can't bring home a C or a D to mom. You have to make sure that you do well. So I believe that her contribution helped me to have done well at high school.
Share some of the experiences at school. At
Arden, I was mentored by the late Reverend Archer. He saw in me in terms of my vision and my outlook for ministry. And I think he was the one, firstly, who introduced theological seminary to me. And because of that, I pursued theology at a very young age, even though that was resisted by a lot of persons. Because I said, listen, you're too young to be considered to go into ministry. But because of my calling and because of what I was told of ministry, I was encouraged to pursue same.
What were you being told about ministry?
There are persons who were saying to me that, listen, if you go into ministry, you can't provide for your home. Pastors usually,
Pastors don't make the money.
No, that's the point. And therefore, I struggled in high school because I was doing more business. Because from a child, I wanted to run my own business. And person was saying to me, that is the way to go. Do business first, and then perhaps after you make enough money, you go into ministry. But thank God I was obedient, not to man, but to God.
All right, I want to talk a little bit about, going into ministry and leading your first church pretty early on and the challenges of that. But we have to take our first break on Profile. My guest is Reverend Dr. Courtney Faulknor. He's a man who chose faith over fear from a very young age. We're back with you after these messages.